What's your thought around melatonin supplementally for kids? And do we have a trend on that?
Yeah, no, when we were talking before and Hannah mentioned that this was one of the, increasingly searched terms for kids, quite disturbing for me.
Yeah, tell us why.
Obviously, melatonin is produced in the body. It's a hormone to regulate circadian rhythm and sleep. And one of our essential, if not the most essential supplement, if we want to call it a supplement, for a healthy immune system is sleep. Nothing can better help the immune system than sleep.
Right.
So if an infant and a child is not learning how to sleep by themselves initially and having to depend on something to stimulate that cycle, it's very disturbing.
Right.
Because then you're building a pattern, you're building a habit that may not ever be changed.
Yeah.
So, for me, with my patients, I recommend, a little melatonin if they're traveling overseas, long, 12, 14-hour flight, just help reset the circadian. But otherwise, try not to use it.
A reset button. That's, I think, what it was always intended for. When we think about the word supplement, whether it's an infant supplement, a pediatric food supplement, or for that matter, a toddler or a 5, 6, 7-year-old supplement. In this instance, we're not talking about being something that you're supplementing from food every single day indefinitely.
Correct.
It's still categorized. I think it's actually this vernacular. There needs to be a review of nomenclature in this industry, right? So, but supplement doesn't mean melatonin is otherwise found in food, which, by the way, it is found pretty high in, for example, pumpkins, pumpkin seeds from tryptophan, but and also tart cherry, right? Tart cherry juice, and so there's melatonin.
You guys know what the mocktails everyone was making, the Sleepy Girl mocktails?
No.
Yeah, that was a big trend. I think it was like last year. So people were making like a mix of like cherry juice, maybe some like yummy probiotic drink in there, and you'd have it at night. It's like your glass of wine alternative. So
Interesting, yeah.
I think that's something you could make fun for kids as they get older, is making them like, here's your nighttime little cocktail.
Yeah. Well, and this is interesting because, so sometimes nature serves up these ingredients, which in this case otherwise our pineal gland is making, melatonin. But unless you're really changing massive time zones in a child, you don't need to be feeding them supplemental melatonin on a regular basis. Anyway, I think that we all agree on that.
And I was just pulling up some data. I think luckily what I was showing before is melatonin gummies are on the down, which I think people are realizing maybe they're not the best things to give kids before sleep. But if you see the top search queries for people searching sleep plus kids, you're seeing sleep aid for kids sleep meditation, which sounds great, right? Something that's more natural. Sleep apnea in kids is growing a lot, which I was saying before. I was seeing on TikTok the other week, mouth tape for kids, which is super interesting.
But what, sorry to interject here. Why are we seeing because it's true, by the way, it's true. Why are we seeing more apnea in young kids these days? For the obvious reasons of obesity, but some of the like adenoid tissue and lymphatic tissue that's dysregulated.
So, essentially it comes back to inflammatory amount within the body. And if inflammation's occurring around the adenoids in the throat, then you're having sleep apnea. So again, it just comes down to how do you not promote that inflammation in your baby and child?
Right.
You stay away from all the inflammatory foods. Diet is the number one. Yeah.
I have a hard time believing there couldn't be at least a potential for a closed loop situation here. That is to say, when manufacturers see trends and what they're trying to do is sort of serve a solution to a trend versus there being real legitimate science to it. So where are people to go? Like reliable sources that parents can turn to for really accurate health information.
I think you need a team. I think talking to your pediatrician, but also a team of influencers that you actually trust. There's a lot of influencers out there now saying, hey, these are products that are sent to me that are actually greenwashed, and they're telling you the truth. So they're not just trying to get dollars. They're trying to give you the right information about what you should use or not use, because greenwashing is such a huge thing right now, where something says it's safe or non-toxic, and they're using buzzwords because they know that works. But really, you read the label and you're like, this is not great for my kids. This is not great for myself to have.
Do you have a 1, 2, 3 kind of checklist for people that, are looking to build that team? I mean, besides a great pediatrician in your area who's open-minded, somebody like Dr. Murray, obviously, but what is a parent to sort of consider when they're looking at besides numbers? Because I think most people just go to well, this guy's got 100 million followers, so clearly he's trustworthy, which is probably exactly the opposite.
I think you look for authenticity, right? I think it's more about engagement than maybe number of followers. You can buy that now. I think it's people that you feel like you can connect to as a parent, people that you feel like are like-minded, and everyone's at a different place in their wellness journey, right? Some people are just starting to take supplements. Some people are biohacking and using 10 plus things a day. So it's finding those people you align with, and then you use them as sort of your trusted team online, because a lot of our interactions are online now, which is crazy to think about. Mm-hmm. But back to the pediatrician point, I think it's finding someone that maybe meets in the middle, that can have a bit of both, Western, Eastern medicine when you talk to them and you feel heard.
Right. Dismissiveness is probably the antithesis of what you're looking for, right? I mean, in your practice, you can attest to this. You're always going to listen first. That's
the first rule of being a doctor,
right? Foundationally, but a lot of pediatricians, I think, are not open to discussing what is trending, or again, we talked about this earlier. Some things that trend, introduce it to the market. It's tested through. This is just what happens in science as well, but. The population at large, and then it either fails and people don't continue to purchase, or it's debunked, or they continue on. I mean, I feel like social media is literally the biggest science experiment ever to exist, and it's living, breathing.